Welcome to Olympian Water Testing, giving you the best in water analysis. Today we're looking at the NIH National Library of Medicine, maternal cadmium exposure during pregnancy and size at birth, and this is a prospective cohort study that they did to take a look at when someone is pregnant, what happens when they're exposed to cadmium, CD. So CD is an embryotoxin and a teratogenic toxin in a variety of animal species, but data found from humans are limited. So what did they do? The aim of the present was to assess the effects of maternal CD exposure in pregnancy at birth. So what happens when a mother is exposed to cadmium through food, water, or the environment? And a prospective cohort study was nested in population-based nutritional supplement in pregnancy conducted in rural Bangladesh, and we selected women recruited through February 2002 and January 2003 who had a singleton birth. And what did they do? They took different analysis of them, and what their conclusion was, they found evidence of a sex difference in the association between maternal CD exposure and birth size, which was apparently only in girls. Also, results add support for the need to reduce CD population to improve public health. So what they did is they took a look at the exposure of toxic heavy metal, mainly through food and also through seafood. And inhalation of tobacco smoke, once absorbed, CD has a long half-life, especially in the kidneys. That's how it affects humans. But the problem is, women are more susceptible to toxicity, mainly because of increased intestinal uptake of CD, low iron stores, which are more prevalent in women than men. So that's a problem, especially with pregnancy. There is little info on the effects of CD exposure early in life. It's been shown to be both an embryotoxin and a teratogenic toxin in various animal species, so it can harm a lot of small animals, especially animals that are in the womb. Now, what happens if someone's pregnant? CD accumulates in the human placenta, but the placenta is not a complete barrier, and CD concentrations in cord blood increase with maternal exposure. There is increased evidence of associations between maternal CD exposure and adverse pregnancy outcomes, such as reduced size at birth and preterm delivery. However, studies have reported associations including very few women, that's 44 to 78 women, and associations with the same outcomes varied marked among these studies. Residual co-founding cannot be excluded because very few covariates were considered. In contrast, two larger studies found no association between maternal CD exposure and size at birth. It's still something to consider, though. In the present study, they took advantage of a large population-based longitude mother-child cohort to assess the effects of maternal CD exposure on birth, and previously reported that arsenic exposure is associated with reduced size of birth, and additionally pregnant women in this rural area had elevated concentrations of CD in their placentas, and the placental CD was inversely associated with zinc in the cord blood, suggesting at the possible effect of CD in the transfer of ZN to the fetus. Thus, it is possible that CD has adverse effects on pregnancy outcomes as well. So it's a very interesting study, and one thing to note is, especially if there is a woman who's pregnant, then you need to make sure that the water they're consuming does not have high levels of cadmium, so these issues do not manifest. That's why it's always a good idea, especially to protect pregnant women, to always have your water periodically tested for cadmium.